I was really, really excited to speak with you, to be quite honest with you, right? Because my understanding, and I did a bit of a brief with Eliza, trying to get a better understanding whilst we got your bio. I mean, that tells us something. But I guess what I got out of that is that you're kind of like the conduit here between football and corporate and the board, and it must be painstaking at times.
Yeah, there's a bit of a skill to I sort of work through a footy executive team. So my main team are got the list manager, the high performance manager, the head of medical, the senior coach, Tara, the head of wellbeing, and also head of operations. So I manage that. I work with that team really closely, and then there's a football club executive team that sort of so I was with them all morning. So you're sort of the conduit between all the other departments in the club. So I've got the executive team, or the club executive, and the football executive. So yeah, working between it all and making sure that everyone's able to do their role. So they're all experts in their field, and then I'm helping them do their role.
Are there egos involved? Because I know that, I mean, with all people there are egos involved, and at times, even in let's say, if I bring it back to our little business, we've got people with different sort of interests. So we've got the operational side of the business, and they're about getting things done, and then we've got the client solution side, the account management side, and they're about making sure the client gets the best possible service. And at times the two kind of don't quite see eye to eye. I mean, do you face those similar things throughout the departments that you manage?
Yeah, definitely. Everyone's a real expert in their field, whether it's doctor, high performance, working upstairs in commercial. Everyone is trying to do the best job they can for the club, but they've all got different needs, and some needs may not sort of, I guess, align completely, depending on, it might be the club wanting to commercialise certain things, and the players wanting to sort of focus on their training that week. So yeah, that's the balance. So yeah, constantly working through that and making sure everyone's aligned, and I know Brian Cook does a great job of employing values and making sure that that's first and foremost. We've got the overall arching theme of stronger together. So knowing sometimes you've got to give a bit and to get a bit back. But there's certainly it is confidence in people knowing their role, and that's where that football executive team I work closely with. But normally, if everyone's transparent, everything's on the table, and sometimes someone has to make a decision.
And are you the someone?
I'm an interesting role because as a football or general manager of football, you're the manager of the department, but then also with the senior coach, sometimes you're managing the senior coach, and a lot of the time you're supporting the senior coach to get the best out of themselves and get the best out of the rest of the football club and department. So that's about it. But yeah, it often comes to me to make a decision on things.
So is that like a slap and a tickle approach? You tickle them a bit and make them feel good, and then every now and then you give them a slap?
Everyone, I guess, handles things differently. Mine is first and foremost who you recruit, getting good quality people, good values, very good at their, technically at their craft. So that's the first thing. And then building a good trusting relationship with them so you can you have the conversations you need to have, and you've got a good relationship and you can have that.
Yes.
So that's how I handle things. No real surprises from that point of view. Honest conversations, and we're pretty clear on everyone's role. We're quite firm on boundaries and everyone playing their role and not sort of overstepping as well. So that's a big part of it. When you're trying to mesh the list manager getting the right talent in and paying the right players, you've got high performance manager and medical trying to keep them fit and available, and then you've got the coach trying to play a certain game style. They all need to complement each other to win games of footy.
How do you prevent the finger pointing when things don't quite work out right? And it's like, the list manager got it wrong, or the high performance manager because he's injured, or I mean, how do you overcome that?
Yeah, I think that comes down to the values in the first place and who you bring in, but you really need to create I think that's a leadership role, and creating a good environment where people don't feel threatened that they need to start making excuses or pointing blame. So that's why it's sort of, as a team, trying to get a good efficient team running, particularly at the footy executive level, and good relationships so that people are comfortable putting their hand up if they've made a mistake, and then don't feel like they're going to get in all sorts of trouble over it, and have honest conversations about it. So, yeah, people different times can, it might be if the list manager, if the players aren't coming on, is that the recruiting, is it development, is it coaching? You just sort of want everyone aligned. Bossy, I find, is a wonderful leader, and it's really important, the senior coach's role, not to, when things are going wrong, point the finger, and he doesn't do that, which is pretty helpful because it's a pretty stressful role being the senior coach of an AFL club, and
sure it is.
Keeping pretty measured through that is a challenge, but he does it pretty well. So I think that comes down to your environment, so that when the pressure comes on, it doesn't sort of those behaviours don't come out.
How do you measure your success in your role?
I heard someone say something the other day, and it was from another sport, and they talked about winning well, and one of the things that we measure pretty heavily the environment, and we do culture surveys on the environment. So we want to win games of football, but we also want a good culture and environment, and good people enjoy coming to work and thriving in the environment. So they're the two things I look at. So winning games of footy and doing it in a good environment. Interesting, when I first started in 2018, the club was a couple of years into a rebuild of the list, which they started in about 2015. So you've got to start developing different metrics, because you're not really going to be in the window of winning games of football at that time, because really if you play probably 2 18-year-olds in the team, or more than 2, you're probably going to lose. I think Brendan Bolton at that time had about 10 18-year-olds in the team, so it's not going to help winning games of footy. It's a rebuild, and you're getting games in the young players. So you're measuring your success is different. It's about getting in the right draft picks, drafting the right players in, seeing growth and development, getting games into the players, maybe saving some money so you can buy players later on, and having a good culture at the same time, and teaching them. Whereas now, as we've gone through those different levels, where the team's competitive, performing a lot stronger, we're in more of a phase of needing to win games of football. So now we're measured by performance and culture. I break down the football department. We look at our list and the players we've got in, and how we remunerate them. We look at high performance durability. We look at players fit and available. If you have injuries, are they injuries that are avoidable or not? So how's that team going, whether it's overuse injuries or soft tissue? And then coaching, you're looking at what is the game plan, how are we educating it, and what are the results of that in contests, offence, defence. So you're looking at all those things. Compliance, we look at. You need to run a really smooth, efficient operations of the club as well. So we make sure we're compliant with the AFL, not getting fined, that type of thing. And also on the wellbeing front, culturally, we want a good environment, and we want players doing things outside of football as well, so it's not just all football. So we have metrics that sit underneath winning, but hopefully if all those things come together, we'll win games of football, and we'll have good culture data to show we've got a good environment.
Yeah. Do you oversee the AFLW as well?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
How's that been, starting something up from almost a greenfield sort of project, really? And it appears from the outside to have been a little bit stop-start as well, and I know, once again, to bring it back to our business, I know how difficult it is to just open a business in a state, for example, and start from afresh. And no matter how much you think they're similar, you go, whatever we're doing in Melbourne, we'll do in Adelaide. You go to Adelaide, the people are different, the culture's different, their thinking's different, and all that sort of stuff. What's your experience been with the AFLW? What lessons have been learnt, for example, there, and what's left to be done?
There's different phases. I know the previous football manager, Andrew McKay, did an unbelievable job in the setup phase of AFLW. I think Mark Lejudice, the president, Kane Little, they're the CEO at the time, all had a vision and did a great job setting up the club from that way. And then we had a phase when I came in that when the form we tailed off a bit, and we weren't quite sort of getting to that high performance level that we'd like to. We had a really good look at the program a year ago, and had some findings, and we decided to really invest heavily in the program. So we've got now half a dozen full-time resources in the AFL program. AFLW, we've got a full-time coach. The players now, it's a fully shared facility. The players train full-time or during day hours, share all the facilities with the men's. So the professionalism is really going to a new level. So we've taken a real focus in the last probably 12 to 18 months on getting the professionalism and investing heavily as a club and management into the program, and we can feel we're seeing some outcomes of that. So my role is to there's a general manager of AFLW that reports through to myself, so I'd make sure that GM's supported and can support the rest of the program. But we're pretty excited about it, and the club's very committed to AFLW.
Yeah, is there much more to be done in that area?
Yeah, I think it's evolving rapidly. So the main thing to do is keep your focus on it, because if you drift to, I think probably a few years ago we probably just did drift towards the men's program, and because you're trying to get the men's team competitive, but put an enormous focus on AFLW in recent times, and the AFLW players, you can think they really see it as well. But we need to keep at it, and that's going to continue to evolve.
I know that some of the criticisms that you read or hear on some of the sports stations, etc., is that people ring up and go, crowds are dropping, it's not going to survive, etc., etc. I mean, have you got any thoughts around that?
Look, I've got a 14-year-old daughter, and I think it's a long game with AFLW. I just see how many girls, look, they couldn't get a team a few years ago, and they had to mix with other teams, and now at the moment they've got 6 on the bench and 9 emergencies that can't get into that team. So you can see that's growing, and the standards growing. So I'm seeing that in that age group, and all those players are going to come through, and a number of them will play AFLW football. So I think at participation level, you go to any ground around the country now, and it might be men's players, it might be women's players. So I think that'll just continue, and there'll be times along the way where there'll be different knocks on it, but I think it's coming through pretty well.
Yeah, I was at the Gold Coast just a couple of weekends ago, and believe it or not, we're having a look at the beach, and there were more people kicking AFL footballs around than there were the rugby, the NRL balls. I mean, and that's one of the NRL's heartlands, isn't it, really? So it's clearly having an impact somewhere out there.
I know, being a football person, I drove past a ground at Craigieburn a number of years ago and saw a young girl kicking a footy, and I stopped the car because I couldn't believe how good her skills were.
Is that right?
Now,
you were going to recruit her?
This was years ago, because I hadn't really seen that, and now I see that every day of the week.
Yeah, it's great,
girls
isn't it?
Kicking the footy, so it's come along a long way.
Yeah. You spoke about recruitment, and we spoke about recruitment with Tara and the part that she plays in that, with the psychometric testing, etc. What do you look for
in recruiting? First and foremost, I'd say competitiveness.
Yeah.
You need to be competitive. If you're not competitive, you're probably going to struggle. So, we look for a level of skill. Like, a skill level is really important. We look for running capacity. If you can't, it's an enormous running game. So you need to have certain running attributes for the role that you're going to play. So you might have one midfielder that might be able to get away with not running big distances, but you need to be able to run most of the time. So you're looking at skill level, you're looking at body shape, you're looking at running capacity, you're looking at their psych profile in regards to competitiveness and drive and wanting to do it. Like, if you've got all of those things, you're probably going to be the #1 draft pick, but you don't have all those things. So within that, if there's holes in their game, or you're looking at what can be improved or what role they may be able to play. So there's a bit of it's a formula that you form in a philosophy as you do it more.
Yeah, recruiting's obviously important to anybody's business. If you've got a good player or you've got a positional requirement, which one do you normally run with?
Well, you need to work through the decision. Most of the time, you'll take the best player, because you've always got different needs coming on. But once it starts balancing out in the talent side, you'll start picking for needs. So so most of the time early in the draft, if you had to put a bit of a blanket over it, you'll take the best player with your first pick and then start addressing needs after that. But it depends on the circumstances. You might have 2 picks in a draft and you take one for need and one for talent if they're around the same mark. But you've got to be a little bit careful overlooking. If you're taking a need over talent, you'd want it to be a fairly close call. You don't want to take a rookie list player tall over Chris Judd because you want a tall. You're going to. I'd rather Chris Judd playing it centre forward.
That's certainly fair enough. What's the most difficult part of your job?
Probably the thing you need to watch is keeping stability through performance pressure. So you have wins and losses. You can lose a few in a row and keep things stable, and you can win a few in a row and keep it stable again. You don't want to get too high or low, and creating a good environment so the players can get to work and do their job and do it in an environment where they can get the best out of themselves. So I'd say the performance pressure and the roller coaster. Very rarely you're going to win every game, and you're very rarely going to have a season where you don't have sort of a few little dips here and there. So it's probably the biggest challenge. Delistments as well at different times. You've got to be delist players at the end of the year, and players work their whole careers up to getting drafted, and then seeing young men or women have to finish up is a challenging part of the role as well.
Is it more difficult with players retiring, just having that conversation, or more difficult with players who perhaps have been in the system for a year or two and they need to be told that they need to move on?
Depends on some that the retirement, you've seen it coming, and you've had conversations on the way. I think the main thing across the board is not to, you don't want anyone to be shocked or sort of taken by surprise. So trying to communicate and sort of give a bit of a lead into whichever way the club's heading in a certain direction. But I've had challenging discussions or challenging situations both ways. Yeah.
And it's interesting when you talk about having the feedback, the ongoing feedback, because it must be a very delicate balance in telling a player, you know what, you're kind of on the fringe, and yet you want to keep them up because you want them to be the best they can be in case they get a chance. So how do you manage that aspect?
Yeah, that is difficult. Like being up front, but also, as you say, not putting too much pressure on them that it does impact their confidence with their game and all that. But sometimes if they're given some it's sort of honest, transparent feedback on where they're at, it might sort of take the pressure and anxiety off as well. If they just know exactly where they're positioned, they probably know anyway. So just to hear it and know that they might have a couple of months to sort of get moving on it all. But clubs have been wrong as well, though. Like there's been plenty of players delisted or retired or sacked, I guess, that have turned it around elsewhere. So it doesn't mean the club's absolutely right. But I think if you've got good relationships, good trust, have the conversation, support the player at the same time, and you've still got to get out there and do a job. That's professional sport. It's not easy.
I'm conscious of your time, so I wanted to thank you very, very much.
Thanks very much. Thank you.